when 28-year-old math teacher Madison Thompson put star athlete Derek Williams in a chokehold. Nobody expected what the FBI would find on his phone. The security cameras at Lincoln High School captured everything. Derek Williams, 6'3" basketball captain, son of city councilman, lying on the cold hallway floor, gasping, his face turning red. Madison Thompson's legs wrapped around his neck like a vice. But this wasn't just about bullying. This was about how one teacher's refusal to be intimidated exposed a federal crime ring that had victimized over 200 women across multiple states. The triangle choke lasted exactly 47 seconds, long enough for Derek to understand he'd picked the wrong target, long enough for the cameras to record everything, long enough to change everything. But to understand how we got here, we need to go back 3 months earlier. If you're feeling that rush of what's going to happen next, hit that like button. It really helps more people discover these stories. And if you want to share where you're watching from, drop it in the comments below. For those who want to support more stories like this one, there's a thanks button right under this video. Every contribution, no matter how small, helps me bring you more inspiring tales of courage and standing up for what's right. Thank you for being here. Now, let's see what happens when push comes to shove. Madison Thompson had always been different. Not the kind of different that made her stand out in a crowd. The quiet kind. The dangerous kind. She walked into Lincoln High School on her first day with a worn leather briefcase and steel in her spine. 28 years old, mathematics degree from Rice University, and zero tolerance for nonsense. Principal Jackson showed her around the sprawling campus in Plano, Texas. "You'll love it here," he said, his smile too wide, too practiced. "We believe in working with our students. Flexibility is key." Madison nodded politely. She'd heard this speech before, at her last school, and the one before that. "What about academic standards?" she asked. "Oh, we maintain high expectations," Principal Jackson replied quickly, "but sometimes we need to accommodate special circumstances. You understand?" Madison understood perfectly. She just didn't agree. Her classroom was on the second floor, room 207, windows facing the parking lot where luxury cars sat next to beat-up pickup trucks. This was Texas. Money talked. But so did stubbornness. She spent her first week setting up. Posters of mathematical formulas, a whiteboard that actually worked, desks arranged in perfect rows because chaos bred mediocrity. The students tested her immediately. They always did. "Can I go to the bathroom?" asked Brittany, a blonde sophomore with designer everything. "Did you ask properly?" Madison replied without looking up from her lesson plan. "May I go to the bathroom?" Brittany corrected, rolling her eyes. "After we finish this problem set." Brittany's mouth fell open. "But I really need to." "Then you should have thought of that before class started." The room went quiet. Students exchanged glances. This was different. Teachers at Lincoln High didn't say no to students like Brittany, but Madison wasn't from Lincoln High. She was from a world where respect was earned, not inherited. That's when Derek Williams walked in. Late, as usual. 6'3" of entitled swagger, basketball jersey hanging loose over designer jeans, sneakers that cost more than most teachers made in a week. "Sorry, miss," he squinted at the board. "Thompson, traffic was crazy." Madison looked at her watch. "Titich, class started 12 minutes ago." Derek shrugged. "Yeah, well, morning practice ran long. Coach says academics come second to basketball." "Coach isn't teaching this class." Derek's smile faltered. He wasn't used to pushback. Not from teachers. Not from anyone. "Look, I just need you to cut me some slack here. I'm Derek Williams. My dad's on the city council. I'm sure we can work something out." Madison set down her marker. The room held its breath. "Mr. Williams," she said, her voice calm as still water. "In my classroom. Grades are earned, not negotiated. Take your seat." Derek's jaw tightened, but he sat down. For now. The first real test came 2 weeks later. Calculus exam. Derek had been skating by on charm and political connections for so long. He'd forgotten what actual studying looked like. The test was fair. Challenging, but fair. Madison had spent hours crafting problems that tested understanding, not memorization. Derek stared at the paper like it was written in ancient Greek. Panic crept up his throat. His basketball scholarship to University of Texas depended on maintaining a C average. This test was going to destroy that. He looked around the room. Other students were writing furiously. Even Mason Carter, his best friend since middle school, was deep in concentration. Derek tried to catch Mason's attention. A subtle cough. A pencil drop. Nothing. 30 minutes into the 50-minute exam. Derek had answered maybe 3 questions. His future was evaporating in real time. After class, he lingered. The other students filed out, chattering about their answers. Derek approached Madison's desk like a man walking to his execution. "Miss Thompson," he started, forcing his most charming smile. "About that test." Madison looked up from her grading. "What about it? I think there might have been some confusion. You see, I've been dealing with some personal stuff lately. Family issues. It's been really hard to focus." Madison's expression didn't change. "I'm sorry to hear that. The makeup exam is next Friday. Actually, I was hoping we could work something else out. Maybe some extra credit. A special project. The syllabus clearly states there is no extra credit in this class." Derek's charm was cracking. "Come on, Miss Thompson. Be reasonable. I need this grade. My scholarship depends on it." "Then you should have studied." "Look, I'm not asking for a handout, just flexibility. You know who my father is, right, Councilman Williams. He could really help the school district with funding issues." Madison stood up slowly. She was barely 5'5", but something in her posture made Derek take a step back. "Mr. Williams," she said, her voice deadly quiet, "if you ever attempt to bribe or threaten me again, you'll find yourself in the principal's office so fast your head will spin. Grades are earned in this classroom. Period." Derek's mask finally slipped. "You can't talk to me like that." "I just did. The door is behind you." Derek stormed out, his face burning with humiliation. In the hallway, students stared. They'd heard raised voices. Derek Williams getting told off by a teacher was bigger news than the homecoming game. But Derek wasn't just angry. He was dangerous, and he'd just learned something new online. Something that would change everything. That night, Derek sat in his bedroom, laptop glowing in the darkness. His father's house was a monument to success. 6 bedrooms, swimming pool, 3-car garage. Everything money could buy. But money couldn't buy respect. And that math teacher had just embarrassed him in front of half the school. Derek had been exploring certain corners of the internet lately. Dark places where angry young men gathered to share their frustrations. Forums dedicated to getting back at women who dared to challenge them. That's where he'd first heard about deepfake technology. "Revenge is a dish best served digitally." Read one post. Why argue when you can create? The technology was simpler than he'd imagined. A few photos, some basic software, a little patience, and you could put anyone's face on anybody doing anything. Derek had been thinking about this for weeks, just thinking. But tonight, after the humiliation in calculus class, Thinking became planning. He opened a new browser window, searched for Lincoln High School faculty. Madison Thompson's photo smiled back at him from the staff directory. Professional, confident, completely unaware of what was coming. Derek downloaded the image. Then he started searching for more. Social media profiles, yearbook photos, anything that showed her face clearly. He found her college graduation photo on LinkedIn, a family picture from 3 years ago. Even a candid shot from the school's website showing her organizing a math competition. Perfect. Derek opened the deepfake software he'd been learning to use. The interface was surprisingly user-friendly. Drag and drop. Select source video. Select target face. Hit render. The first attempt was rough, obvious, but Derek had time to practice. Time to perfect the technique. By 3 in the morning, he'd created his first convincing deepfake video. Madison Thompson's face. Someone else's body. Something that would destroy her career if it ever went public. Derek saved the file, smiled, then went to sleep. The next morning, Madison noticed something different. Students were staring. Not the usual teenage gawking. Something else. Something predatory. In the hallway between classes. Conversations stopped when she walked by. Phones disappeared into pockets. Smirks were poorly concealed. During lunch, Ashley Miller, the chemistry teacher, approached her table in the faculty lounge. "Madison," Ashley said quietly, "we need to talk." They found a quiet corner. Ashley looked uncomfortable, nervous. "There's something going around," Ashley said. "About you. Something inappropriate." Madison's stomach dropped. "What kind of something? I don't know the details, but the students are talking, and it's not good." That afternoon, Madison cornered Mason Carter after calculus class. If anyone would know what was happening, it would be Derek's best friend. "Mason," she said, "I need you to be honest with me. Is there something I should know about—" Mason shifted uncomfortably. He was a good kid, caught between loyalty and conscience. "I can't. I don't," he stammered. "Mason." He looked around, making sure they were alone. Then he pulled out his phone. "Derek made me promise not to tell anyone," he whispered. "But this isn't right." He showed her the screen. A video file, Madison's face, but not her body, not her voice, not her choice. The world tilted sideways. "Where did this come from?" she whispered. "Derek. He's been working on it for weeks. He says you embarrassed him. So now he's going to embarrass you." Madison gripped the edge of her desk. "Has he shared this with anyone else?" Mason's silence was answer enough. "How many people have seen it?" "I don't know. Maybe 20, 30. The basketball team for sure. Some of the cheerleaders. It's spreading." Madison closed her eyes. In the digital age, spreading meant viral, and viral meant career suicide. "Mason," she said slowly, "this is illegal. What Derek has done is a serious crime. It is creating fake pornographic videos without consent is a federal offense. Derek could go to prison." Mason's eyes widened. "I didn't know. I swear, I didn't know." "Who else knows Derek made this?" "Just me, I think. He's been careful." Madison made a decision that would change everything. "Thank you for telling me. And Mason, if anyone asks, we never had this conversation." Principal Jackson's office smelled like coffee and failure. Madison sat across from his desk, trying to control her breathing. "This is a very serious accusation," Principal Jackson said, not meeting her eyes. It's not an accusation. It's a fact. A student has created pornographic material using my likeness without my consent. This is criminal behavior. Now, let's not rush to judgment. Boys will be boys. Sometimes they make poor choices. Madison felt her temperature rising. Poor choices. This is sexual harassment, digital assault. Derek Williams has committed a federal crime. The Williams family has been very generous to this school district, Principal Jackson said carefully. Councilman Williams helped secure our new gymnasium funding. Perhaps we should handle this quietly. Quietly. Talk to Derek. Make him understand this behavior is inappropriate, but let's not blow this out of proportion. Madison stared at him. You want me to have a conversation with the student who created fake pornography of me? I think that would be best for everyone involved. And if I refuse? Principal Jackson's smile was cold. Madison, you're still in your probationary period. I'd hate to see a promising career derailed over a misunderstanding. The threat was clear. Madison stood up. I understand perfectly, she said. She walked out of his office knowing she was alone. The system wouldn't protect her. The administration wouldn't help her. If she wanted justice, she'd have to fight for it herself. That evening, Madison sat in her small apartment, staring at her laptop screen. The video Mason had shown her was now circulating through private group chats. Her face, her reputation, her dignity. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Enjoying your 15 minutes of fame. Teacher, this is just the beginning. Back off or it gets worse. Much worse. Derek. Madison set down her phone, picked up another device. Her personal laptop. The one she used for everything the school didn't need to see. She opened a new browser window and typed FBI Cyber Crime Unit. If the school district wouldn't help her, maybe federal law enforcement would. But as she started filling out the online complaint form, another memory surfaced. Something she hadn't thought about in years. College, University of Houston, her roommate Sarah, stumbling back to their dorm room one night, torn clothes, bruised face, too scared to report it because the attacker was a football player. The system protects them, Sarah had whispered. Not us. That's when Madison had made a different decision. Not the safe one, not the smart one, the necessary one. She'd enrolled in self-defense classes. Krav Maga first, then boxing. Finally, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for 2 years, 3 times a week. Madison had learned to fight, not because she wanted to, because she had to. Because the world was full of Derek Williams, and the system would always protect them. Her instructor, Marcus Rodriguez, was a former Marine. Quiet, methodical, deadly. Size doesn't matter, he'd told her. Technique matters, leverage matters, but most of all, will matters. Madison had learned the triangle choke during her second year. A submission hold that could render a grown man unconscious in seconds. She'd practiced it thousands of times on training mats with willing partners. She'd never used it in real life. Until now. Madison closed the FBI complaint form without submitting it. She had a different plan. The next morning brought a new humiliation. Derek had been busy overnight. A fake love letter, supposedly from Madison to a male student. Graphic, desperate, professional suicide in written form. Derek read it aloud during lunch. The cafeteria erupted in laughter and shock. Phones came out, recording everything. And in conclusion, Derek announced dramatically, your devoted admirer, Miss Madison Thompson. The applause was deafening. Students cheered like they'd just witnessed a championship game. Madison stood in the doorway, frozen. This wasn't just about a bad grade anymore. This was systematic character assassination. That afternoon, 3 more female teachers approached Madison privately. Ashley Miller, Jennifer Walsh from English, even Patricia Santos, the vice principal. They all had the same story. Derek Williams had targeted them too. Different methods, same goal. Destroy any woman who dared challenge him. "He has photos," Jennifer whispered. "Somehow he got photos of me changing in my classroom, after hours, when the building was supposed to be empty. He offered me a deal," Patricia added. "Change his grades, and the photos disappear." Madison felt sick. This wasn't about one angry teenager. This was predatory behavior, criminal behavior. But now she knew something else. She wasn't Derek's only victim, and she might not be his last. Agent Sarah Chen of the FBI Cybercrime Unit took Madison's call on the first ring. "Federal agents don't usually answer their phones this quickly," Madison said. "We do when the case involves multiple victims and interstate distribution." Agent Chen replied, "Your situation is more serious than you realize." They met that evening at a coffee shop downtown. Agent Chen was younger than Madison had expected. Asian American, probably early 30s, with the focused intensity of someone who'd seen too much digital evil. "The technology you're describing has been on our radar," Agent Chen explained. "Deepfake pornography is exploding. Most victims are women. Most perpetrators are men with technical skills and serious anger issues. Can you help me?" "I can try, but I need you to understand something. Cases like this require federal prosecution. That means publicity, media attention. Your name will be in the news." Madison considered this: privacy versus justice, safety versus standing up. What happens if I do nothing? Derek Williams escalates. He always does, and his next victim might not be as strong as you. Madison made her decision. Do what you need to do. But Derek's father had already made his move. Councilman Williams had spent 20 years building political connections. Favors owed. Influence purchased. The kind of power that made problems disappear. He visited Principal Jackson the next morning. No appointment necessary. "This situation with my son needs to end," Councilman Williams said. "Immediately. I understand your concern. Do you? Because federal agents are asking questions. And when federal agents ask questions, people notice. When people notice, funding gets scrutinized." Principal Jackson paled. The school district relied heavily on municipal support that Councilman Williams controlled. "What would you like me to do? Transfer the teacher. Find a reason. Insubordination. Poor performance. Inappropriate behavior. I don't care what you call it." "That might be difficult to justify." "Jackson!" The councilman's voice was ice. "The new sports complex project is worth $12 million to this district. The vote is next month. It would be a shame if budget concerns forced us to reconsider." The threat was clear. Madison Thompson or $12 million. Not really a choice at all. Madison got the call during her planning period. "Report to the principal's office immediately." Principal Jackson wasn't alone. Dr. Patricia Morrison, the district superintendent, sat beside him, the heavy artillery. "Madison," Dr. Morrison began, "we've received some concerning reports about your classroom management." "What reports?" "Students feel intimidated. Parents have complained about your inflexible grading policies. There are questions about your professional conduct." Madison felt the walls closing in. "Are you referring to Derek Williams?" "I'm referring to a pattern of behavior that suggests you might not be the right fit for our district. So Derek creates fake pornography of me, and I'm the problem." Dr. Morrison's expression didn't change. "I'm not aware of any substantiated allegations involving inappropriate videos." "Because you don't want to be aware." "Miss Thompson, you're on administrative leave effective immediately." You'll receive a letter outlining the specific concerns within 48 hours. Madison stood up slowly. This is retaliation. Pure and simple. This is a personnel decision based on objective performance metrics. Madison walked to the door, turned back. Derek Williams is a predator, and you're enabling him. When this comes out, and it will come out, remember that you chose to protect him instead of his victims. That night, Madison sat in her empty apartment, boxes half-packed. Her teaching career was over, her reputation destroyed, her future uncertain. But Derek Williams had made one crucial mistake. He'd forgotten that wounded animals are the most dangerous. Madison opened her laptop. The FBI complaint form was still there, half completed. She finished it, added detailed evidence, attached screenshots, included contact information for the other victims. Then she submitted it. Her phone rang within an hour. "Miss Thompson, this is Agent Chen. We need to talk." The investigation moved quickly, too quickly for Councilman Williams to stop it. Derek's electronic devices were seized under federal warrant. His cloud storage accounts, his social media profiles, everything. What they found was worse than anyone imagined. Derek Williams hadn't just targeted teachers at Lincoln High School, he'd been part of an online network, sharing techniques, trading victims, building a library of compromising material featuring women who'd never consented to any of it. Over 200 victims across 14 states. Some were teachers. Some were classmates. Some were girls who'd simply rejected Derek's advances. And some were minors. The federal charges were staggering: production and distribution of child pornography, interstate trafficking of non-consensual intimate images, conspiracy to commit sexual exploitation. Derek Williams was looking at decades in federal prison. But he still had one card to play: the morning of his arrest. Derek made a final decision. If he was going down, he'd take Madison Thompson with him. He gathered his closest friends: Mason Carter, Jake Peterson, Tyler Brooks, the inner circle. "That bitch teacher thinks she won," Derek said. "But I'm not done yet." He outlined his plan. Simple, brutal, effective. They would corner Madison at school, humiliate her one final time. But this time, it wouldn't be digital. This time, it would be physical. "We're going to strip her," Derek said. "Right in the hallway. Film everything. Show the whole world what happens to teachers who don't know their place." Mason looked uncomfortable. "Dude, that's assault. She assaulted my reputation. Now it's payback time." "I don't know, man. This feels different." Derek's eyes were cold, empty. "Are you with me or against me?" Mason nodded reluctantly. He'd been Derek's friend since middle school. Loyalty ran deep, but loyalty was about to collide with reality. Madison returned to school the next morning to collect her personal belongings. Her administrative leave had been extended indefinitely, pending the federal investigation. She walked through the empty hallways, feeling like a ghost haunting her own life. Room 207 was exactly as she'd left it. Mathematical formulas on the walls, desks in perfect rows, dreams interrupted. She packed her personal items methodically. Photos, books, the small succulent plant that had somehow survived her care. As she loaded the last box, footsteps echoed in the hallway. Derek Williams appeared in her doorway. He wasn't alone. Madison's blood ran cold. She'd seen this look before. In her self-defense classes, in her nightmares. The look of a predator who'd finally cornered his prey. "Going somewhere?" "Teacher," Derek asked. Madison gripped the edge of her desk. "I'm collecting my belongings." "Funny. I was hoping to collect something too." Derek stepped into the classroom. His friends followed. Mason looked sick. Jake and Tyler looked eager. "You know," Derek continued, "you've caused me a lot of trouble. Federal agents, lawyers. My father is very disappointed. You caused your own trouble. See, that's where you're wrong. You caused it. By not knowing your place. By thinking you could embarrass me without consequences." Derek moved closer. Madison calculated distances, exit routes, weapons. "Here's what's going to happen," Derek said. "You're going to apologize, publicly, and then you're going to make some other sacrifices." "I'm leaving." Madison moved toward the door. Derek blocked her path. "I don't think so." That's when Derek made his fatal mistake. He put his hands on her. Madison's muscle memory kicked in faster than thought. Years of training compressed into a single moment of violent precision. The triangle choke was perfect. Derek Williams hit the floor 47 seconds later, gasping like a landed fish, and everything changed. But what happened next would shock even federal investigators. The security cameras captured everything in high definition. Derek Williams, 6'3" basketball captain, lying on the classroom floor. Madison Thompson's legs wrapped around his neck like a python. 47 seconds of perfect Brazilian jiu-jitsu technique. But what the cameras didn't show was what happened next. What the FBI found on Derek's phone would expose a criminal network spanning 14 states and change federal law forever. The school hallway erupted in chaos. Mason Carter stood frozen, his phone still recording. Jake Peterson backed against the wall, eyes wide with shock. Tyler Brooks was already running. "Holy shit," someone whispered. "She choked him out." Derek gasped on the floor, his face returning from purple to red to normal. His hands clutched his throat, his ego bruised worse than his windpipe. Madison stood over him, breathing steady. Years of training had taken over. Muscle memory replacing thought. Her hands weren't even shaking. "Security!" Derek wheezed, struggling to sit up. "She attacked me. Everyone saw it." Principal Jackson came running, his dress shoes slipping on the polished floor. Behind him, 2 security guards and a handful of teachers drawn by the commotion. "What happened here?" Principal Jackson demanded. "She choked me." Derek pointed at Madison with trembling fingers. "Unprovoked assault. I want her arrested." Madison said nothing. Her eyes were calm as still water. Mason Carter stepped forward, his phone clutched in his hands. "That's not what happened." Everyone turned to look at him. "Derek grabbed her first," Mason said quietly. He was trying to pull her dress off. She was defending herself." "You're lying." Derek scrambled to his feet. "He's lying for her." "I have it on video," Mason said. The hallway went dead silent. Principal Jackson's face went white. "Give me that phone." "No," Mason said, surprising everyone, including himself. "This is evidence. Real evidence." That's when Officer Lane, the school resource officer, arrived. 20-year police veteran. He'd seen enough real crime to recognize it when it happened. "Nobody touches that phone," Officer Lane said firmly. "This is a potential crime scene." Derek's face twisted with rage. "Crime scene. She's the criminal. Look what she did to me." Officer Lane looked at the security camera mounted in the corner. "We'll let the video speak for itself." The security footage was devastating, clear as daylight. Derek Williams grabbing Madison Thompson's dress, trying to pull it down. His friends recording on their phones. Madison defending herself with minimum necessary force. But when police seized Derek's phone as evidence, they found something nobody expected. The deepfake videos were just the beginning. Derek's phone contained a digital library of over 300 compromising images and videos. Teachers from Lincoln High, students from other schools, girls who'd rejected his advances, women who'd dared to challenge him. Some of the victims were adults, some were minors. All of it was illegal under federal law. Agent Sarah Chen arrived at Lincoln High School within 2 hours of Derek's arrest. She brought a team of digital forensics experts and federal warrants. "This isn't just about your case anymore," Agent Chen told Madison. "We're looking at interstate trafficking of non-consensual intimate images, conspiracy to distribute child pornography. This is organized criminal activity." Derek's laptop revealed the full scope of his crimes. Chat logs with other predators, tutorials on deepfake creation, detailed plans to blackmail victims into sexual compliance. But the real shock came when they cracked his encrypted files. Derek Williams wasn't working alone. The federal investigation exploded overnight. Derek's online network included 47 active participants across 14 states. College students, high school athletes, even some adults in positions of authority. They called themselves the Collectors. Their goal was simple: acquire compromising material of any woman who challenged male authority, teachers who gave bad grades, girls who rejected advances, coaches who enforced rules. They shared techniques, traded victims, built digital weapons designed to destroy lives. Derek Williams was their star recruit. "We've been tracking this network for 6 months," Agent Chen explained to Madison. "Your case gave us the legal authority to take them all down." Coordinated raids happened simultaneously: Chicago, Atlanta, Phoenix, Seattle. 47 arrests in 12 hours. The evidence was overwhelming. Thousands of victims, millions of illegal images, a systematic campaign of digital sexual violence. But Derek's father wasn't finished fighting. Councilman Williams held an emergency press conference the next morning. "My son is the victim of a vindictive teacher who couldn't handle being challenged by a strong young man," he declared. "This is prosecutorial overreach at its worst." The media ate it up. Local news stations ran stories about teacher violence and the dangers of zero-tolerance policies. Derek became a symbol, poor young athlete destroyed by an out-of-control educator, until the federal charges were unsealed. The indictment was 237 pages long. Production and distribution of child pornography, interstate trafficking of non-consensual intimate images, conspiracy to commit sexual exploitation, extortion, blackmail. Each count carried a mandatory minimum sentence, added together. Derek Williams was looking at life in federal prison. Councilman Williams hired the best defense attorneys money could buy. They argued entrapment. They claimed prosecutorial misconduct. They painted Derek as a misguided teenager who'd fallen in with the wrong crowd online. None of it worked. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Madison testified on day 12. She walked into the federal courthouse in downtown Dallas wearing a simple black suit. No makeup, no jewelry, just quiet dignity and unshakable truth. Derek's defense attorney tried to destroy her credibility, made her sound like an angry feminist with a vendetta against successful young men. "Isn't it true, Miss Thompson, that you deliberately targeted my client because of his father's political position? No. Isn't it true that you used excessive force in subduing a 17-year-old student? I used the minimum force necessary to stop a sexual assault." Sexual assault, isn't that a rather dramatic characterization of teenage pranking? Madison looked directly at Derek. He couldn't meet her eyes. "Creating pornographic deepfake videos without consent isn't pranking," she said. "It's a federal crime. Attempting to forcibly remove someone's clothing isn't pranking. It's sexual assault." The prosecutor showed the jury Derek's digital evidence. video after video, image after image. A systematic campaign of sexual violence disguised as teenage rebellion. The jury deliberated for 47 minutes. Guilty on all counts. Derek Williams was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison. Lifetime registration as a sex offender. $2 million in restitution to his victims. His co-conspirators received similar sentences. The entire network dismantled. Their victims finally safe. But Madison's impact was just beginning. Her case became a legal precedent. Federal prosecutors across the country used it to pursue similar crimes. The Department of Justice created a new task force specifically targeting deepfake abuse. Congress passed the Madison-Thompson Act 6 months later. Comprehensive federal legislation criminalizing non-consensual deepfake pornography. Mandatory minimum sentences for digital sexual violence. Madison testified before both houses of Congress. Her quiet dignity and unshakable truth changed minds and hearts. Technology has given predators new weapons, she told the Senate Judiciary Committee. But it's also given us new tools to fight back. We just have to have the courage to use them. Today, Madison-Thompson directs the National Digital Safety Initiative, a federal program that trains educators, law enforcement, and prosecutors to recognize and combat digital sexual violence. She still teaches, not mathematics anymore, but something more important: self-defense classes for educators, digital literacy for teenagers, courage for anyone who's ever been told to stay quiet. The triangle choke she learned in college saved more than her own dignity. It saved hundreds of potential victims who would have suffered if Derek Williams and his network had continued operating. Lincoln High School was completely transformed. Principal Jackson resigned in disgrace. The school board implemented comprehensive anti-harassment policies. Federal oversight continues to this day. Councilman Williams lost his re-election campaign. His political career destroyed by his attempts to cover up his son's crimes. But the most important change was cultural. Madison's case sparked a national conversation about digital consent, sexual violence, and the responsibility of institutions to protect victims rather than perpetrators. Young women across the country learned they didn't have to stay silent. They didn't have to accept abuse. They could fight back, and the law would support them. The final lesson of Madison-Thompson's story isn't about martial arts or technology or even justice. It's about courage. The courage to say no to people who aren't used to hearing it. The courage to stand alone when systems fail you. The courage to fight back when predators assume you'll stay quiet. Derek Williams chose Madison-Thompson as his victim because she seemed safe. A quiet math teacher with no political connections and no obvious power. He never imagined that quiet people can be the most dangerous. That teachers are trained to protect students, even from other students. That courage doesn't require size or strength or permission. It just requires the decision to refuse to back down. Madison's triangle choke lasted 47 seconds. Her impact will last forever. Because when one voice rises in the darkness, it gives others permission to speak. When one person refuses to be silenced, it creates space for everyone to be heard. The bullies who stripped away her dignity discovered something they never expected. Sometimes the prey fights back, and sometimes the prey wins. Madison-Thompson proved that standing up doesn't always require fighting back. Sometimes it just requires refusing to fall down. And when one teacher decided she'd rather risk everything than accept injustice, she accidentally protected thousands of future victims who will never even know her name. That's the real power of courage. It echoes forward through time, creating safety for people you'll never meet, in places you'll never see. Derek Williams thought he was teaching Madison Thompson a lesson about power. Instead, she taught the entire world a lesson about justice. The lesson is simple. Predators count on silence. They depend on shame. They require complicity. When you refuse to give them what they need, they become powerless. And sometimes, just sometimes, the triangle choke works on more than necks. Sometimes it chokes out entire systems of abuse. Madison Thompson's 47 seconds of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu didn't just stop one bully, it stopped a movement. Madison Thompson stands before 300 educators at the National Teacher Safety Conference in Washington, D.C. Behind her, a PowerPoint slide shows a simple statistic. Digital harassment reports down 67% since the Madison Thompson Act. In the audience, Ashley Miller applauds. She's now the principal of Lincoln High School, having transformed it into a model institution for digital safety. Jennifer Walsh runs the state's anti-harassment task force. Patricia Santos became a federal prosecutor specializing in cyber crimes. The women Derek Williams tried to silence became the voices that changed everything. But perhaps the most powerful transformation belongs to Mason Carter. Now 22, Mason works for the FBI's cybercrime unit. Agent Chen recruited him personally after he testified against Derek's network. His insider knowledge of how young predators operate has helped prevent dozens of similar crimes. I was complicit, Mason told Madison during his first day of training. I knew it was wrong, but I stayed silent. Silence doesn't make you evil, Madison replied. It just makes you human. What matters is what you do when you find your voice. Mason found his voice. Now he uses it to protect others. Derek Williams, meanwhile, serves his sentence at Federal Correctional Institution Beaumont. No basketball, no political connections, no power over anyone. His cellmate is a former teacher convicted of similar crimes. They don't speak much. The deepfake videos that once terrorized Madison and others have been completely scrubbed from the internet. The FBI's Digital Evidence Recovery Unit spent 2 years hunting down every copy, every backup, every cached file. But the real victory isn't technological. It's cultural. A generation of young women grew up knowing they don't have to accept digital abuse. They've seen what happens when you fight back. They've learned that courage creates more courage. Madison's triangle choke lasted 47 seconds. Its ripple effects will last 47 lifetimes. Because Madison Thompson proved that teachers don't just educate minds. Sometimes they save souls. And sometimes saving one soul saves thousands more. The triangle choke works every single time.